Welcome back to another episode of From the Desk. I'm your accountant, Samira Moyedin. Here we are. Before I get to the killing of 5 Al Jazeera journalists, including the beloved correspondent Anas Al Sharif, I want to bring you some wonderful local news that has Zionist organizations across Canada going gajungi. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, this is the union representing 83,000 elementary school teachers across the province of Ontario. They passed a historic motion at their annual general meeting this week in Toronto. The motion is to, quote, affirm Palestinian identity and to teach Palestinian history in the curriculum and have workshops on anti-Palestinian racism. Now, this might not sound historic, but there has been such pushback from Zionist groups in Canada about this. Zionist organizations such as CIJA say the teaching of Palestinian history, well, they say it threatens Jewish identity and might make Jewish students feel uncomfortable, potentially. If teaching another people's history makes you uncomfortable or is a threat to your identity, you may want to chickadee check what you've built that identity upon. And I always find that usually those who fear history and the affirmation of another people's identity are probably culprits in the history of those people's erasure. Now, apart from the historic and much welcomed notion, and I should add that this motion passed with 71% of teachers in favor of it, something else happened at the annual general meeting, something that is so bloody outrageous. Meet elementary school teacher Ellie Miron. Ellie teaches at Anne Frank Public School in York Region. Ellie showed up at the Elementary Teachers Federation annual general meeting wearing his IDF uniform. Complete with a little Golani Brigade patch on it. I want you to imagine being a Palestinian parent and knowing that this is your child's teacher. A source inside the meeting shared these photos with me and also told me that Ellie Miron was very upset that the Federation of Teachers passed the motions that they did to recognize Palestinian identity and anti-Palestinian racism. This is an elementary educator in York Region cosplaying at the annual general meeting wearing his IDF uniform. Now, this story is still developing and I have requests out to all parties involved and I will make sure to update you as those responses come in. Moving on, Benjamin Netanyahu. I get a chill up my spine every time I say that name. Let's call him BJ for now. BJ sent another message to the people of Iran.
And I say to you, if you will it, a free Iran is no dream. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to fight for freedom. Iran bariye Irani.
Oh God. God, Why does he insist on speaking Persian every time? Could you please get our language out of your corpse-filled mouth? Benjamin Netanyahu. After Israel's Operation Scaredy Cat didn't quite work out the way Israel wanted, Netanyahu is still desperate to use Iranians as fodder for his messianic marauding. Recently, he told I-24 News that he feels he is on a historic spiritual mission and committed to a greater Israel. Now, Benny doesn't mean greater as in better. He means greater as in the GTA, like Greater Israel Area. So GIA, the Greater Israel Area, which includes Lebanon, Syria, parts of Iraq, Eretz Israel. You'll recall that at one point during the genocide, the Israeli army had a real problem with these Greater Israel patches that their TikTok soldiers were wearing. They even had to give a directive to soldiers to remove them. From the river to the sea, for Israel, that means the river Euphrates to the Mediterranean. Israel knows no bounds. Israel has no borders, because when God is your realtor, sky's the limit and there's no capital gains tax involved. To our main story, Israel's killing of an entire Al Jazeera news crew, including 2 correspondents, Mohammed Qaria and Anas Al Sharif. The beloved Al Jazeera correspondent Anas Al Sharif, the mountain of Jabalia, the boy who was born under Israeli siege, and the 28-year-old man who was killed during a genocide that he covered. But the thing is that Anas knew this was coming. He had already buried dozens of his own colleagues prior to writing his own death note. "This is my will and final message," he wrote. "If these words reach you, know that Israel has succeeded in killing me and silencing my voice." Seven people in total were killed, including Anas Al Sharif, Mohammed Qaria, and camera operators Ibrahim Zaher, Mohammed Nufal, and Muamin Aliwa. Just weeks before they murdered Anas Al Sharif, Israel maligned him. Avichai Adrai, this is the Israeli army's Arabic spokesperson, put a target on Anas's back just weeks before murdering him.
بوابة مجمع الشفاء الطبي.
فيلم اليوم من إنتاج هوليوود فرع غزة برعاية قناة الجزيرة وبدعم خاص من حماس الإرهابية.
And even before that, they targeted him in October of 2024.
شريف انكشفت حقيقتك. وثائق حماس والجهاد التي تم العثور عليها في غزة والتي نكشف عنها اليوم لا تترك مجالا للشك. آنس الشريف,
accusing him of manufacturing Hamas propaganda. I'm not sure if you remember, but Israel also killed Anas Al Sharif's father on December 11th, 2023, by bombing their family home in Jabalia. Anas was the eyes and ears of millions of people around the world, and we foolishly thought that his million or so followers would protect him. Many people were warning about this targeting of Anas. The Committee to Protect Journalists warned about it. Irene Khan, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression, warned about the targeting of Anas. And Anas himself begged the world for protection. But Israel went ahead and killed him anyway, because Israel does as Israel pleases. Anas's killing caused Canada to enter again into its circle of condemnation, officially stating, quote, Canada condemns the killing of the Al Jazeera journalists in Gaza. Journalists are civilians. Targeting them is unacceptable. We call for full accountability and for the protection of media everywhere. Media everywhere? Where else? Where else have hundreds of journalists been killed? And who's doing the killing, Canada? Can you say? Our mealy-mouthed condemnations and obfuscations even reach international news. For some reason, Canada can't find the killer. So that was our government. How did Canadian media react? Well, the annals of dirge and darkness reacted exactly how you'd imagine. Here is the National Post, not even pretending to be a news organization anymore. They just went ahead and printed verbatim copy from the Jewish News Syndicate. Now, they later removed that byline and changed the headline, as you can see here. And they went with this instead. Reminder that the editor-in-chief of the National Post, Rob Roberts, that's his name, Rob Roberts, went on two all expenses paid trips to Israel on the dime of Canada's former ambassador to Israel, Vivian Berkovitzy. Now, I dug up something really interesting that I found extremely disturbing yesterday. The former Canadian ambassador to Israel, Aunt Viv, the one, sending all these Canadian journalists to Israel, well, she was a former board member of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, my alma mater. How does that happen? How does that work exactly? Explain to me how a person who was the former ambassador to Israel ends up on the board of directors of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Oh, and after that, goes and works for Black Cube. This is an Israeli intelligence firm that ex-Mossad agents end up at. The Zionist government media pipeline in Canada. Very well greased. Park all of that, because Anas Al Sharif's brother revealed something today to Al Jazeera. 4 days before Israel murdered Anas, they offered him safe passage out of Gaza with his family if he would stop reporting. Obviously, Anas refused, and 4 days later, Israel killed him. Back in October of 2024, Anas, along with some other journalists that we've reported on, including Hossam Shabbat, who was murdered in March of 2025, they were all placed on a hit list that you can see here. Israel claiming all of them worked for Hamas or Islamic Jihad. Zero evidence, of course, to back up any of their claims, but Israel doesn't need evidence. And if they do, they will manufacture it. Something has shifted with Anas's murder. Western journalists began to speak out, and some of them have begun to do the unthinkable, their jobs.
Easily have been formulated by the IDF. You know, it is hard to verify these few documents which they put forward last October.
Yes, the IDF does formulate evidence. The IDF lies incessantly. And I have to tell you, to hear a journalist finally say that on the air was breathtaking. More of this, please. As always, we ask that you support the work we do. We cannot do this work without you. And we do it all to keep you informed, bringing you the voices and stories you most need to know and hear from now. Head on over to patreon.com/onthelinemedia. Show us some love. We are totally funded by you, and we want to keep it that way. Before I sign off, on Saturday, August 16th, right here for those in Toronto, a massive rally is to take place starting from Yonge and Dundas at 3 p.m. I will be speaking at this rally on behalf of the Canadian Journalists for Justice in Palestine. Be there, continue to show up for Palestine, for Palestinians. Let your lawmakers know how you feel about what is happening at home and in Gaza. We will end today's episode with the words of Anas Al Sharif. I entrust you with Palestine, the jewel in the crown of the Muslim world, the heartbeat of every free person in the world. I entrust you with its people, with its wronged and innocent children who never had the time to dream or live in safety and peace. Their pure bodies were crushed under thousands of tons of Israeli bombs and missiles, torn apart and scattered across the walls. I urge you not to let chains silence you, nor borders restrain you. Be bridges toward the liberation of the land and its people until the sun of dignity and freedom rises over our stolen homeland. See you next time. Stay tuned.